Hi friends! Welcome back to the Happiness Soundtrack. I'm your hostess, Jana Barrett, but you can call me Jana Banana. For those who don't know, I'm a commercial flight attendant, and I am fascinated by the associations we form with music. This podcast is built on one simple question. What's a song that reminds you of a happy memory? I've been asking that question to strangers, friends, and everyone in between, collecting their stories one song at a time. This all started when I decided to spend a full year listening only to music I'd never heard before. That's the story I shared in the first episode, so if you haven't listened to that one yet, I recommend you do so now. That one talks about why the project started, and in this episode, I'll tell you how the project started. So here we go! Year 38 had a quiet start. I drove to work without background music, feeling as though every musician I'd ever adored was giving me the silent treatment. I'd forgotten something about losing all the music you've ever heard before. It makes it hard to express all the emotions you've ever felt before. A huge portion of your emotional vocabulary is erased, which makes it more difficult to process your feelings. I needed to find new music, not just to give my time a sound, but to give my feelings a shape. I was no stranger to rebuilding my whole library from scratch, having completed my first year-long musical fast during 2019. But how had I gone about it, I wondered. My first recollection was scouring the discography of my favorite bands and listening to the albums I'd never previously explored. Then I researched my favorite artists and found their side projects, solo work, B-sides, demos, acoustic performances, anything they'd released that I had never consumed. Finally, I looked into any promising leads recommended by the algorithm. If you like X, then you might like Y. Quite often I did like Y. Sometimes I even liked Z. That's what got me through 2019, but now I had exhausted all those resources. It didn't even feel like I was back at square one, more like square zero. While this emotional territory wasn't completely uncharted, it was still uncomfortable, and now all the artists who had gotten me through it before were nowhere to be found. I spent the whole drive to the airport simply contemplating where to start. I decided to ask for music recommendations. After service on the first flight, we had a few moments to chat with people. And luckily, most people love chatting with flight attendants. I had put a blank journal in my purse that day, intending to use it for my musical discoveries and observations throughout the fast. But something told me it would be more fun to just start handing it to people and ask them to write some recommendations. There were only two problems with that. One, the task would be overwhelming for anyone. It would take a while for someone to compile a list, and it would take me forever to listen to everything. Two, what resonates with one person may fall flat for another. I probably wouldn't connect with most of the songs. I had to find a way to make my big ask a lot smaller. Surely I could achieve the same goal by asking something bite-sized and specific. What if I asked everyone for just one song? That would solve the problem of overwhelm, but it wouldn't ensure emotional resonance. Music is deeply personal, so what's something we all have in common with it? Memories. I assumed everyone must have a song attached to a happy memory, and therefore they'd each have a unique story to share. I might not like the song, but I'd love hearing the story. What if I just asked them about that? I grabbed the journal and searched my purse for a pen. Inside was the one I'd been advertising from the hotel room where I decided to take on this challenge. The same pen I'd used to craft the menu for my music feast. It was perfect! I wrote the question inside and put my own answer at the top of the first page. Then I clipped the pen to the front cover and headed down the aisle. I figured I'd ask whoever made eye contact with me and smiled, but I had no idea how I'd ask. I only knew if I stopped to think about it, I'd talk myself out of the whole thing. Besides, 38-year-old Jana was supposed to be bold, damn it! So, for the first time in my life, I jumped in without a plan. The plan was to figure things out along the way. A few rows in, a man looked up at me and smiled. Target acquired. I leaned down and asked, "Hey, would you like to help me with something?" His reply was a cheerful, "Sure." This was already going great. I opened the book and said, "I'd love to know what song you associate with a positive memory. Just write it down here, please." so he did. His song was Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. I thanked him for sharing and continued walking. Several rows later, another passenger looked up and smiled. I used the same conversational formula since it had just proven effective. His song was Everlong by the Foo Fighters. When I got to the back, I asked my 3 crew members and a pilot from another airline who was standing there at the moment. They were all delighted by the question, and we were excited to hear each other's stories. I asked my crew on the next flight too, and a few more passengers. One guy was kind of both, a familiar pilot coming home from training. We caught up a bit and I told him about the project. His song was Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson. At some point, I overheard my crew asking each other, "What's your song? What's your song?" I then realized the question was about more than just the music. It was about the platform for connection. Sharing our songs, or the stories behind them, was a way to share our histories, our personalities, our values, and the people and experiences that had meant something to us. It was a subconscious reminder that we are humans first, and everything else second. And that moment of connection, especially with total strangers, is what I've fallen in love with. Rarely do adult birthdays inspire you with the same sense of wonder and awe as they do when you're a kid. But this wasn't just the start of a new year. It was the start of a new adventure. I could feel it. And even though I was still quite intentionally in unfamiliar territory, now I felt like I wasn't in it alone. I had started the day overwhelmed by what I'd lost, and ended it overcome by what I'd found. I couldn't wait to see where else this question would take me. Thank you so much for listening. So how about you? Do you like to chat with strangers when you're on the plane? How would you have felt about one of your flight attendants coming up to you and asking you this random question? I hope you would have been excited. Most of the people I ask are pretty happy to share. Feel free to share your thoughts with me on Instagram at Happiness Soundtrack. You can always DM me and tell me about your song too. I would love to hear your story. As for my stories, I share a new one every Monday, and next week I'll tell you about some of the most intense moments of a soldier's mission and the song he listened to afterward. You can listen to all the stories right here on the podcast, watch the animations on YouTube, or read the stories at happinesssoundtrack.com. And if you sign up for emails on the website, I'll send the stories straight to your inbox every week, along with the video and podcast links. Have a great week. I'll be back next Monday with a song and a smile.